See what ends up happening in the draft there. Appreciate everybody being here. John, I want to talk a little bit about these owners' meetings this week. All right. The one thing we've been talking about in previous years with the owners' meetings was the damn tush push. There's none of that conversation. That is tabled. No longer needs to be addressed as the tush
push. I think it needs to be addressed, but
they're not addressing it. Am I right?
No, they're not. Yeah. But as I've said pretty consistently, I think all pushing needs to be removed from the game, which I said when we talked about it. I mean, it was for many years. There were far more years where offensive pushing was illegal in the NFL than it's been legal. And I think they need to go back to the old rule. Ironically, when they switched it to begin with, the reason was it was too hard to officiate, which you heard that last year with the tush push. It's too hard to officiate. Pushing is too hard to officiate. So I think they need to remove it from the game, but the tush push just became a bigger story because of the play was marketed. It's got a name. It's just, that's it.
Well, it's not being addressed at the owners' meetings now, John. There is a bunch of other rule changes that have been proposed, John. I think there's 5, right? Is there 5 rule changes proposed this year at the NFL owners' meetings?
Yeah, there's not many. I gotta pull it up, but and they're not very interesting either. To be honest, it's not a big rules meeting.
No, it's not.
They're not very interesting. The onside kick, who cares? You can declare onside kicks any point in the game. I mean, it's still impossible to get. So, it's not for whatever reason. Now, again, the NFL can do whatever they want. They have these meetings quarterly. They're not as important. Or highly hyped, and they change rules all the time, and they can get to more impactful rules. But, yeah, I don't know how onside kicking is letting people declare that at any time of the game. You think about in the Super Bowl, onside kicks, trying to steal a possession. If you declare it, there's no advantage. So to me, that's a big nothing. Interestingly enough, the Eagles had put that 4th and 20. Some people would say 4th and 15 instead of the onside kick. They do it that way. At least that would give the offense a chance. I prefer that rule, but they tabled that. They don't want to discuss that. So not a big rules, I would say, not a big rules meetings.
Now, what's going on with the refs, John? I read something about that, the dispute with the refs. Is that right? What's going on with that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that is legit. I mean, the Referees Association and the league are far apart, and the league is preparing to get replacement officials ready. And, boy, I know everybody thinks NFL officiating is bad, but I think it's more, and I've said this numerous times, I think it's more people are upset about the legislation. But for those who remember the Fail Mary and the last time they had replacement officials, you think it's a shit show now? Where do you see these guys? That is not an easy job.
What does the referee union want that they're so far apart?
Well, obviously they want more money. Now, the problem where I do defend the league is because of the way it was set up originally. Most of the officials aren't, you think about, and this kind of blows people's minds. Most aren't full-time employees.
Yeah, they're it's like a side job for them.
Yeah. Well, back in the day, it made some sense because,
Yeah, but when you have teams selling for $10 billion and you have a league that's generating, I mean, come on. I mean,
So, and one of the reasons you have all these NFL, you've heard the stories over the years, and you'd have guys who are lawyers and guys who are CEOs and really high paying jobs. And for them, they're like, I don't want to give up my high paying job to do this, which is understandable. Now, here's the problem. One of the reasons they did that back then, for those who don't know, and they wanted highly successful people, not only because, they're generally good at things, but was gambling. Gambling was illegal. So if you got some schlub making, I don't want to disparage, making a small amount of money refereeing an NFL game, well, that's pretty easy for somebody who wants to get them, say, hey, I'll give you,
bribe them easily.
Yeah.
Right.
So they wanted sort of highly successful people, and it made a lot of sense. Now that the league has invested and is in bed with every gambling thing there is, which by the way is a mistake, but I digress. Yeah, that's not as big of a deal. So, but the old school mentality of the not full-time refs are, I don't want to give up my chosen profession to do this. So I've been on that bandwagon for literally 25 years. I say it's big enough now where they should be full-time employees. And those who don't want to be full-time employees say, thanks for the memories, give them the gold watch and send them on their way. But there's enough to do to make them all full-time employees. And then the obvious part is always money. The NFL offered the Referees Association a 6-year deal with a raise of 6.45%. The average NFL official earned, by the way, pretty good job, $385,000 in 2025. The league, the Referees Association wants more than that. So everything comes down to money, but right now it's kind of ugly. They also the league wants more accountability. They want to be able to fire refs easier and don't perform. They basically want more accountability for the officials, and the Referees Association is working against that. They want to increase the probation.
Yeah, so it's a fight for control. I mean, that's what it seems like to me. Yeah, money too. Which you're right. Money is everything, but control.
Yeah.
Well, who do you think is right there?
Why? Like everything in life, there's sometimes I encourage accountability, so I defend the league on that. Yeah, they should be.
Yeah, me too. I mean, they should be a big game. Yeah, right. And they're making big mistakes or things like that.
Coaches lose their jobs. Support staff lose their job if they don't win games. So I support the league for that. And some of the other things right now it's kind of seniority based for playoff games. I'm like, fuck that. I mean, if they're not doing their jobs, give it to the guys based on performance. I agree with that from the league's perspective. Now, just as the players and understand the Referees Association is just like a players association. They're fighting for their constituents. So, right now, the league wants to shorten the dead period during the offseason for more training. All this sounds legitimate, but just like the players, they're like, wow, we don't want to do that. It's a tough job. We want to recharge our batteries, the sort of quality of living things that the NFL, the only thing the NFLPA wins, quality of life issues. Same things with the referees. So you got all these things, but the bottom line is they should have been full-time officials for years, and I mean all of them. Now there used to be none. Now there's a decent amount, and it should be every single one. Number one, they should be working on this job. There's enough things to do. Now you have technology. You can do virtual reality. You could speed them up. You can help them with eye speed and things like that because it's a very fast game. All these kinds of things you can do. You can make a deal with the UFL, which started over the weekend, and say, get more reps that way, get more live reps at training camp. The Eagles have officials at every single training camp practice. Now, that's out of their own pocket. The NFL should be sending these guys to practices.
Right.
There's plenty to do.
It does feel to me like a league as big as this should go the distance to make sure that the officials, are compensated and have the right system. Now, with that being said, the league should also be able to make decisions if somebody needs to be held accountable. That I completely agree with.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's the role of a union. I mean, it depends. When you bring it down to the rank and file of, 9 to 5 people, people are generally pro-union. When you bring it to rich people, people are generally anti-union, but they're all the same. They fight for their members. And that's what they're supposed to do. So, it depends how you look at it, but it's no different than the NFLPA fighting for the players.